rights, I've been thinking, why is it that always in Nigeria our parents seem to say that their generation had it better than ours, and then all their parents before them too, they say they had it better? Why is it that things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse for us? Is it that as black people in sub-Saharan Africa, are we cursed or something? Nothing seems to be working for us, and I'm beginning to think there is something very serious that is happening. Maybe it is at a subconscious level, and that is why we have not even taken note of it, and we keep failing and failing and failing. Look at it this way. Recently there was a lot of activities that happened in Kano regarding the Hisbah police, and the way they arrested a lot of people. They were coming from a religious point of view, and there were a lot of concerns. There were a lot of people that were kind of maligning the Hisbah in southern press, newspapers and things like that. Now, for me, I tend to look at it differently. I think we are where we are because there is a serious identity crisis in this country. We just have to look at it that way. Now, I think it was in the late 90s, there was this documentary that was done by Professor Ali Mazrui. It aired on the BBC. It was kind of popular at that time, and he traversed the whole of the sub-Saharan African region, and he came to a conclusion that there is this concept of triple heritage. That seems to be what is, our Achilles heel as black people in this world. We as black people have had three major influences in our systems, in our lives. You can take yourself as an example. You see, on average, each sub-Saharan African speaks 3 languages, and on average, we are influenced by our own tradition. We are influenced by elements of westernization, and then we are influenced by our religions. You might be Christian or you might be Muslim, but these religions came through either it's from the Arabic trade with Arabs. That's how Islam came, or missionaries that came to Africa and then preached Christianity, and then the natives accepted it. Now we have a conundrum here in the sense that our allegiances are scattered along these lines. For example, let me give you an example. You see, typically in northern Nigeria, in Islamic communities, if a marriage is going to take place, what usually happens is that in the morning, people will come and then the Fatiha will be said. After that Fatiha, that should be enough. The marriage is done and they are legally married. Now, here in Nigeria, what happens is in our Iowa today, we say the Fatiha in the morning. Maybe late in the afternoon, we bring it's either Korosoban or Gangakura or something like that. Now, these are our traditions as Africans that we have not left and we are still practicing. Now, when those people who play the native drums come, people will dance, and a lot of the time when people are dancing, males and females will be dancing in the same dancing to the rhythm of the Gangakura or the Korosoban or whatever. But in Islamic terms, these things are not supposed to happen. We are not supposed to mix men and women and dance together, those who are not related. Now, but we do it anyway. Why do we kind of conveniently forget about Islamic rights at that moment, and then we just choose to do our tradition? That means there are still elements of our tradition that we have refused to let go. Now, later in the evening, what usually happens is there is a dinner, and then you find a Muslim girl wearing a gown. Now, she wears a gown, and the bridegroom and his friends, they wear tuxedos or suits. They become Westerners. that's just like a snapshot of what is wrong with us as a country. You see, all these three influences, there are three different completely ways of life. If you take the religion, for example, as Muslims, Islam is a complete way of life in the sense that the political, economic, family, every institution, every major institution of a society has laid down rules and regulations that govern, a purely Islamic setup. The same thing with, the Western ideology that we are practicing. It's also almost complete system of way of life, because if you look at the political, this democracy we are doing, the capitalism economic system, the nuclear family that is promoting and all that, it's all a complete way of life, and they are clashing. So you have the religious influence, you have the Western influence, and you have the traditional influence. Now this brings us to a situation where even if you want to get married, for example, you see a lot of people, a lot of us, we have these three considerations. Okay, I want to marry a partner who is good religiously, who is equally good, who understands my tradition, and there won't be any kind of friction. And then at the same time, I want to marry somebody who is quite modern. We tend to sugarcoat modern as Western as modern, just to give ourselves something to latch onto. But that's not actually the case. We're just expressing the influences that we have had, in our lives. Now, this has serious consequences, because it's only in sub-Saharan Africa that you come and then you see in one society there is customary court, there is a civil court, and there is a Sharia court. Three different systems all merged into one, maybe one taking precedence over another, but this kind of subconsciously confuses us and it spreads our allegiances thin. For example, if you are the president of Nigeria and then you have to take a very, very critical decision regarding whatever it is, whether it's security, whether it's on the economy, whatever it is, maybe you want to situate some form of infrastructure, and you're looking for the best place to do it in the country, your judgment is clouded because of these three allegiances. You do not think rationally. Again, what you are thinking is, how do I do this to benefit my region, that is my people, the place I'm come from? So you're now thinking as a tribalist, and then at the same time you say, how do I do this to benefit my religion? Now you are thinking in terms as a, you're just thinking in terms of your religion, only your religious, your people who are practicing your religion that you are considering. And then at the same time too, we are talking about, how can I make the decision that it will seem modern or at least acceptable to people in the West. We all know that as sub-Saharan Africans, a lot of our policies, are dictated from the West, and this is not big news. We all know that. So what our leaders end up doing all the time when they take critical decisions, it seems to me, is that they take something in between, which is halfway. And at the end of the day, that decision does not end up meeting the requirements that we need for the nation to succeed. You see a lot of projects that are situated where they don't have anything to do with that place, and it just keeps on like that. Now, after some time, when these decisions have been taken over and over again, that is how you have countries like sub-Saharan Africa. That is how you have countries like Nigeria, and it's a conundrum and a special case too to consider. But if we begin to think of these things as like this, then maybe we'll find a way to create more common ground where, as Nigerians, we can think of how to move forward. But it's also good to understand that maybe subconsciously these things are affecting us and are affecting our leaders, and it will always happen like that. So I'm very, very happy to meet you all, and I'm going to be making videos. Some of them will just be snippets, but we'll be finding solutions for our collective problems. And I'm a firm believer in Nigeria. I believe Nigeria will succeed, but we have to prescribe and understand. No, we have to diagnose our problem first, then we'll know then how best to prescribe the best medicine for how to deal with it. I believe there is a way out of this, and also please share with me what you think is the case, and how you think we can best get out of this. Or if you do not agree with my position, tell me your own position and tell me why you think we are still underdeveloped and why we are where we are today. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking about other things that concerns northern Nigeria and Nigeria as a whole once again. Thank you very much.